right, Nick, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams here for just a moment. Still in the wee hours of being able to declare they're still Super Bowl champions up until the last whistle blows on that fateful day. So the Rams fans have time to revel in that for just a little bit more this season. So I think you take full advantage of that. But we have a big story, a talking, Nick, about the Rams' future and some moves, some things that may be happening potentially to help them strengthen that future, Nick, because they made the move, they won the Super Bowl, and now they have to reassess and see what they need to do to go on that path once again. But Rams fans, speaking of moves, speaking of the future of this team, let us know in the comments below. What kind of moves are you looking for the Rams to make this offseason? What kind of additions do you think would be most impactful to this team? Let us know in the comments below. But Nick, what do you have for the Los Angeles Rams?
Yeah, so after the season finished, there was some concern over Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. Was McVay going to return? Was Stafford going to return? All signs indicate that Stafford will be healthy. McVay will return as the head coach. And good news, Cooper Kupp should be 100% good to go next season. So the Rams are making another run at it. And according to general manager Les Snead, he's fully on board with that because he's not looking for a rebuild, to quote him, Ice. He's looking for a remodel. And that means the Rams have to make some roster moves and make some decisions. So according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, there are 3 players on the Rams roster that they think could move this offseason, could be up for trading to the right buyer. And that would be none other than defensive tackle Aaron Donald, cornerback Jalen Ramsey, and pass rusher Leonard Floyd. Jeremy Fowler gets there because he looks at cap hits for those guys. Aaron Donald's this year is $26 million. Jalen Ramsey's $25.2 million. Leonard Floyd is $22 million. And Fowler notes the Rams are nearly $14 million over the salary cap. So they got to move off some of those players in order to get under cap and maybe make some other moves. Miles, before I get your thoughts on this, here's my take. Les Snead has made a career, and he's been a legend, out of mining teams that are looking to rebuild and getting their best players and bringing on his team. He did this with the Lions, right? They brought in Dan Campbell, rebuild mode. He gets Matt Stafford, right? The Jaguars, total rebuild mode. He gets Jalen Ramsey. The Bears, total rebuild mode. He gets Leonard Floyd, added Allen Robinson later as well. That's what he does. The thing, though, in order to do that, you need assets to trade with. You need salary cap space. You need draft picks. Les Snead famously doesn't really give an F about the picks. He moved off the picks to get those guys. So now that has occurred and he's looking to remodel the roster, he has to get some assets back. And that means moving off of some of these veterans. And that's why I think this is a really smart move. Look, I know Aaron Donald is great. No one wants to see him go. I know Ramsey and Floyd have had their moments as well. But I think this is the right move to make to bring in more assets, whether it's in cap space, draft capital, whatever it may be, a combination of both. So that way they can mine other teams looking to rebuild for their best players. Miles, give me your take on this.
Yeah, Nick, when I look at specifically the 3 players you mentioned, there are 2 different tiers of players. Obviously, Donald, Ramsey, I would consider top of the league in their position, superstar status. Floyd is a very solid player, not quite to the level of Donald and Ramsey. If I'm looking at these guys, I'm thinking about the most impact to my team as far as probably getting under salary cap and getting the most draft picks would be moving a guy like Donald or Ramsey. In this league, though, Nick, a top tier corner is a very, very important position. I think a guy like Ramsey is too important to move off of. I would tighten my sights in on a guy like Aaron Donald, a guy like that you didn't think, you weren't sure whether or not he wanted to retire at one point this season. I still think he's at the top of his game. It's a sexy pick for a lot of teams, a sexy pickup. They kind of, that name, Aaron Donald, still holds all of the weight. He is one of the best, if not the best players in the NFL. So I think you could fetch a haul of draft picks for Donald, get a lot of that salary cap off of your books. Now, Rams fans, that doesn't sound great to you. You love Aaron Donald. He's an excellent player, a game changer at the position. But I'm just thinking, of those 3 guys, he's probably the one that meets the most criteria for you going forward as getting that assets, like you said, in draft capital and getting salary cap back. And then for other teams wanting to pick up a guy like Donald, and, he flips his position. Nick, he farms out, rebuild teams to get great players. Now he could maybe flip Donald to a team that feels like they're a contender and just needs that one extra piece to push them ahead. That's kind of how I see the situation. All 3 of those guys, really, you could trade them and get a decent amount back. But in my opinion, Donald would probably be on the top of my list as far as getting the most accomplished.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Obviously, Donald could get a big haul for a player of his caliber. And I look at a team like maybe the Buffalo Bills or the Minnesota Vikings, teams that have some, some capital, some assets to give up potentially, and feel like they left the playoffs early and feel like they may be one more player away, one more playmaker on defense away from making a real run at it. I could see the Bills giving up a lot for a guy like Aaron Donald. We're talking maybe a first and a third a pick or something crazy like that. I could see something similar from Minnesota, whose defense was absolutely abysmal, despite having guys like Jefferson, Thielen, Kirk Cousins has, had his moments. Cook in the running game, obviously. I think they look at defense as a big issue in Minnesota, and they would give up a lot for a guy like Aaron Donald. And again, that's how Snead can flip the script here, right? He mined teams that were rebuilding, and now he can flip assets back in a way by getting back to a team that reaches too much and tries to get a veteran and pay him too much and give too much for him. And I think that's exactly what Snead is planning to do here. I don't know if Donald's the guy to do it. It depends on what someone's going to give up for him. But whether it's Floyd, Donald, Ramsey, or some combination of three guys, those three guys there, that is the move to make. And once they make that move, once they get assets from those guys, watch out, because then the Rams are going to retool very quickly.